It was the year 2847, and the galaxy had completely erased Earth from its memory. Most alien species believed humans were extinct. They thought Earth was nothing more than a lifeless stone drifting through the void. On ancient star charts, the planet showed up with a warning: dead system. No life detected. For 800 years, not a single signal had come from the small blue world that once held billions of souls. Dr. Elena Vasquez moved through underground passages beneath what was once New York City. Her footsteps created echoes in the empty halls. She was Earth's final scientist, perhaps the last human who could remember the old times. Every day she took the same path deep into the planet's core, moving past layers of metal and crystal that most people never knew existed. The passages opened into a chamber glowing with gentle blue light. Old machines hummed softly within the walls. These weren't human creations, though humans had figured out how to operate them. The technology belonged to a race so ancient that even their name had vanished from history. They had left these gifts behind before vanishing into the stars millions of years earlier. At the chamber's center lay a figure resting on a bed made of living crystal. The man appeared to be sleeping, but Elena knew the truth was more complex. Commander Marcus Cain had remained in this condition for 8 centuries. His chest moved up and down in slow rhythm. His face seemed calm, yet there was strength in his stillness. Strength that could shake the entire galaxy to its foundation. Elena examined the readings on her tablet. All systems appeared normal. The Guardian's vital signs remained steady. The ancient alien technology keeping him alive worked flawlessly. She had performed this duty for 30 years, following in the footsteps of her mother and grandmother before her. Her family had protected the Guardian across generations. "Still sleeping, Marcus," she whispered to the motionless figure. "The galaxy is peaceful today. No dangers, no attacks, just like yesterday and all the days before." Yet Elena's words couldn't have been more wrong. High above, in the frozen emptiness between stars, something was heading straight for Earth. The Celestial Consortium controlled most of the galaxy. 7 alien races had united to create the most dominant government the stars had ever witnessed. They managed trade routes, created laws, and determined which planets could be settled. Their vessels were swift and their weapons were mighty. They considered themselves masters of everything. The Zephyrians stood as the most arrogant members of the consortium. They were towering, blue-skinned creatures with 4 arms and eyes that blazed like distant suns. They viewed themselves as superior to all other races. They had taken control of 50 worlds and enslaved 20 different species. Now they hungered for more. Admiral Keith Varr commanded his flagship, the Stellar Dominator, from its bridge. His vessel stretched 5 miles in length and held enough destructive power to obliterate a moon. Behind him, 200 ships followed in flawless formation. They were traveling toward a small yellow star that old records named Sol. "Admiral," spoke his second in command, "we're nearing the target system. Should we scan for defensive systems?" Keither's laughter rang out, sounding like shattering glass. "Defensive systems, Commander? This system died 800 years ago. The humans who called it home are gone forever. There's nothing that can stand against us." But the Admiral's assumption was completely false. Earth possessed defenses. They were simply sleeping, just like the Guardian watching over them. The Zephyrian fleet emerged from hyperspace at the solar system's edge. Right away, sensors that had been silent for centuries started awakening. Hidden stations scattered through the asteroid belt began transmitting signals. Ancient satellites circling Jupiter and Saturn activated their receivers. Deep space monitors disguised as ordinary rocks suddenly burst with energy. On Earth, inside the crystal chamber, something shifted. The Guardian's breathing quickened. The machines surrounding him grew louder in their humming. Elena glanced up from her tablet as warning lights started flashing along the walls. "What's happening?" She spoke aloud, though nobody could answer. The alien technology responded to the danger above. Power surged through circuits that had been inactive for 800 years. Golden light filled the chamber. Elena had to protect her eyes as energy patterns danced across the walls like living lightning. Commander Marcus Cain's eyes began moving beneath his closed eyelids. His fingers twitched. For the first time in 8 centuries, the Guardian started to dream. In his dreams, Cain witnessed the ships approaching Earth. He sensed their hostile plans like an icy wind across his awareness. The ancient alien technology merged with his human mind revealed everything to him. He observed Admiral Cain issuing commands to his fleet. He heard the Zephyrians plotting to strip mine Earth's seas and mountains. He felt their scorn for the vanished human race. Marcus Cain had been a warrior before becoming the Guardian. He had battled in the final great war between humans and the Consortium. He remembered when Earth's leaders chose to end the fighting by pulling away from galactic society. Humans were too dangerous, they claimed, too powerful, too likely to transform into the very beasts they opposed. So Earth fell silent. Humans withdrew their fleets and shut down all communications. They made their world appear dead and abandoned. They selected exile instead of war, peace instead of domination. But they also decided to stay prepared in case someone thought that a dead world would be simple to conquer. The Guardian Protocol served as humanity's final safety measure. One volunteer would merge with the ancient alien technology. One person would remain conscious while the rest of the world rested. One Guardian would protect Earth until the danger passed or until time itself ended. Marcus Cain had volunteered because he grasped the sacrifice. The alien technology would preserve his life, but it would also transform him. He would gain powers beyond human limits, but he would also lose something essential. He would gain the ability to defend his world, but he would sacrifice the chance to live a normal life among his people. Elena stared in wonder as the Guardian's vital signs surged. His pulse doubled, then tripled. The crystal bed started glowing more intensely. Energy flowed through the chamber like a river made of starlight. "Marcus," she whispered, "are you waking up?" Far above Earth's surface, the Zephyrian fleet drew closer to the planet. Admiral Cain studied the data from his sensors. Earth looked precisely as the reports described. Blue waters, green lands, white clouds, but no cities, no technology, no traces of intelligent civilization. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we're picking up some strange energy readings from beneath the planet's surface. They seem to be coming from underground." Cain dismissed it with a wave. "Probably just natural geological processes. These dead worlds often have unstable cores. Begin the landing sequence. I want mining operations underway within 6 hours." But the energy readings weren't natural at all. They were the first signs of something that had been dormant for 800 years. Something that was very much alive and extremely displeased about being awakened. Inside the crystal chamber, Elena stepped backward as the Guardian's eyes suddenly opened wide. They were brown, as they had always been, but now they contained flecks of silver that moved like liquid metal. Marcus Cain sat up gradually, his movements careful and controlled. When he spoke, his voice carried unusual harmonics that made the crystal walls resonate. "How long?" he asked. 800 years, 2 months, and 16 days, Elena answered. She had been tracking every moment. Cain nodded and rose from the crystal bed. He stood taller than Elena recalled from the historical files. The alien technology had altered his body along with his mind. His muscles moved with flowing grace. His skin possessed a faint glowing quality. When he turned his head, Elena could see circuit patterns just below the surface of his neck. Admiral Cain stared at his tactical display with increasing bewilderment. The energy readings from Earth were growing stronger every minute. What began as tiny signals on his sensors had become enormous power signatures that made his ship's computers strain to calculate their true magnitude. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're detecting signals from throughout the entire system. Someone is activating technology that's been inactive for centuries." "Show me," the Admiral ordered. The main viewing screen displayed the solar system. Red dots started appearing everywhere. Around Mars, concealed bases were activating. Throughout the asteroid belt, objects that resembled ordinary rocks exposed themselves as weapon platforms. Near Jupiter, enormous structures that had been camouflaged as moons began broadcasting identification codes. "This is impossible," the Admiral's second-in-command whispered. The intelligence reports claimed this system was entirely dead. Keith Var's 4 hands tightened into fists. The intelligence reports were mistaken. "Send a message to Consortium headquarters. Inform them we may have found a hidden human colony." Yet even as he issued the command, the Admiral realized this was far more than just a colony. The energy patterns his ships were detecting indicated technology far superior to anything the Consortium had ever seen. Whatever was awakening in the Sol system had been sleeping for an extraordinarily long time. Deep below Earth's surface, Marcus Cain felt every system powering up. The alien technology in his body linked him to a network spanning the entire solar system. He could observe through the sensors of every hidden platform. He could sense the power flowing through weapons that had been charged and waiting for 800 years. "Elena," he said without looking away from the crystal console, "you should head to the surface. What happens next might be dangerous down here." "I'm not going anywhere," Elena replied with determination. "My family has protected you for generations. I'm not leaving my duty now." Cain regarded her with those strange, silver-flecked eyes. "This isn't your battle." "Yes, it is," Elena stated. "Earth is my home too." The Guardian nodded slowly. "Then stay near me. The alien technology will shield you as long as you're close." Above them, the first Zephyrian scout vessels entered Earth's atmosphere. They anticipated finding empty cities and deserted settlements. Instead, they discovered something far more startling. The cities weren't empty at all. Humans lived there, millions of them. They tended their fields and walked their streets just as they had for centuries. Yet something was different about these people. They moved with intention. They looked up at the alien ships without showing fear. And when the Zephyrian vessels opened fire on what they assumed was an easy target, they learned that humans had developed new methods to defend themselves. Force fields shimmered into being around every city. The Zephyrian energy weapons struck the barriers and simply disappeared, absorbed by technology that converted attacks into power for Earth's defenses. Children continued playing in parks while warships fired overhead, protected by shields that had been waiting 800 years for this exact moment. "Admiral," his tactical officer shouted, "our weapons aren't functioning. The humans possess some kind of defensive technology that's absorbing our firepower." Kethar watched in shock as his scout ship sent the same report repeatedly. Every assault was blocked. Every weapon was neutralized. The humans on the surface carried on with their daily activities as if nothing unusual was occurring. "How can this be?" he demanded. His answer arrived in the voice that had cautioned him before. The Guardian's words reached every ship in the fleet, coming through their communication systems, whether they were activated or not. "You were warned to leave," Marcus Cain stated. "You chose to attack instead. Now you will discover why the galaxy was safer when Earth stayed silent." On the planet's surface, something remarkable started happening. Structures that had appeared to be ordinary hills and mountains began to transform. Metal surfaces emerged from beneath artificial soil and plants. Towers rose from underground storage. Weapon openings appeared along coastlines that had seemed completely natural just moments earlier. The moon itself started to move. Every Zephyrian in the fleet watched in terror as Earth's natural satellite changed its orbit. Enormous engines that had been concealed beneath fake craters ignited with blue flames. The moon rotated to face the alien fleet, and when it did, the Zephyrians realized it wasn't a moon at all. "Sir," the sensor operator whispered, "the moon is artificial. It's a space station, a weapons platform. The power readings indicate it could destroy our entire fleet." Admiral Kethar experienced something he had never felt before in his long military career. Fear. Real, deep terror that made his forearms shake. "Connect me to Consortium headquarters. Emergency priority. Tell them we need backup forces. Tell them the humans aren't extinct." But the Guardian wasn't done with his display. Throughout the asteroid belt, weapons platforms that had pretended to be space rocks for centuries began moving. They arranged themselves in battle formations, stretching across millions of miles. Each platform measured the size of a city, equipped with weapons capable of shattering planets. Around Jupiter, the structures that had posed as moons showed their true form. They were shipyards, enormous construction facilities that had been building humanity's real fleet for 800 years. Hangar doors opened and ships emerged, not dozens or hundreds, but thousands. Each vessel was bigger than anything in the Zephyrian fleet, and they moved with grace that suggested technology far beyond what the consortium understood. "Elena," Marcus Cain spoke in the crystal chamber, "I need you to understand something. What you're about to witness, this is why humans chose exile. This is why we decided the galaxy was safer without us." "What do you mean?" Elena asked. Cain's expression turned sad. "We didn't withdraw because we were weak. We withdrew because we were too strong. The alien technology that rescued us from the dying Earth also changed us. It transformed us into something that could dominate the galaxy. But ruling was never our goal." He gestured toward the holographic displays, showing the incredible power being revealed across the solar system. "Every world in the consortium combined doesn't possess the military strength we're displaying right now. And this is merely what we built in the first 100 years after we went into hiding." Elena stared at the displays in astonishment. "We could conquer the entire galaxy with ease," Cain acknowledged. "That's precisely why we chose not to. That's why I volunteered to become the Guardian. Someone had to remain awake to ensure we only used this power for protection, never for conquest." On the bridge of the Stellar Dominator, Admiral Cain received a response from Consortium headquarters. The message was short and frightening. "All available fleets are being sent to your location. Do not engage the humans directly. Repeat, do not engage. Intelligence indicates we may have awakened something that was intentionally sleeping." "Too late for that," the Admiral muttered as he watched his scout ships retreat from Earth's atmosphere. Every vessel had been disabled without being destroyed. Their weapons were offline. Their engines barely worked. But they were alive, and that fact sent its own message. The humans could have destroyed them easily. They chose mercy instead. Marcus Cain felt the alien technology pulsing through his enhanced nervous system. With each passing moment, he became more connected to Earth's vast defense network. He could sense every ship in his fleet, every weapon in his arsenal, every system under his command. The power was intoxicating, and he understood why his predecessors had feared it. "Guardian," Elena said quietly, "the aliens are retreating." "No," Cain replied, studying the tactical displays. "They're regrouping. The Admiral has requested reinforcements. This was just the first wave." Cain knew what would follow. The consortium would send everything they had. 7 different alien races with thousands of ships and weapons capable of destroying stars. They would arrive expecting a battle against humanity's hidden colony. They would discover something far more dangerous instead. "Elena, I need you to send a message to the human settlements," Cain said. "Tell them to prepare for an extended siege. The consortium won't surrender easily." "What about you?" Elena asked. Cain looked at her with those transformed eyes. The silver patterns in them were growing brighter, and Elena could see circuit traces spreading across his skin. The alien technology was changing him more with each moment he remained active. "I'll do what I was created to do," the Guardian said. "I'll defend Earth no matter what it requires." But even as he spoke, Cain knew the real price wouldn't be to himself. The price would be to the galaxy's view of humanity. For 800 years, humans had been seen as extinct, peaceful, gone. After today, they would be remembered as the sleeping giants who had chosen mercy over conquest. That choice was about to be tested in ways that would shake the foundations of civilized space. Above Earth, Admiral Cain's fleet pulled back to a safe distance and waited for reinforcements. The Admiral stared at the planet that had seemed so harmless just hours before. Now he could see the reality. Earth wasn't a dead world. It was a fortress, a sleeping weapon that humanity had aimed at the galaxy and then chosen not to fire. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface." "Put it through," Cain commanded. Marcus Cain's voice filled the bridge once more, calm and measured. "Admiral, your reinforcements are welcome to come. We have been waiting 800 years for someone to properly test our defenses. Your fleet will help us determine if our preparations have been sufficient. You're threatening the entire consortium, Cathar replied. No, said the Guardian. We're offering you the same choice we made centuries ago. You can leave now and tell your people that some things are better left undisturbed, or you can stay and learn why the galaxy's greatest warriors chose exile over war. The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Cathar alone with a decision that would determine the fate of both the consortium and humanity. He looked at his tactical displays showing the incredible power that Earth had revealed in just a few hours. For the first time in his military career, the Admiral wondered if some battles were too dangerous to fight. In the crystal chamber beneath Earth, Marcus Cain felt the weight of 8 centuries settling on his shoulders. The alien technology sustained his body, but it couldn't ease the burden of the choice he carried. He was humanity's guardian, protector, and judge. The decisions he made in the coming days would echo through history. Elena watched him with concerned eyes. Are you all right? Cain smiled, though the expression was sadder than before. I'm becoming what I was always meant to be. The question is whether the galaxy is ready for that revelation. Above them, in the depths of space, more ships were coming. The greatest armada in consortium history was assembling to face a threat they didn't comprehend. They thought they were coming to suppress a human colony. They were actually coming to witness the awakening of the most dangerous guardian the universe had ever known. The emergency gathering of the Consortium Council had been running for 6 hours. Representatives from all 7 member races sat around a massive holographic table spanning several light years. Each delegate appeared as a shimmering projection from their home worlds. The topic of discussion was unprecedented in the Consortium's 1,000-year history: the return of humanity. Council leader Zerion, an ancient being whose crystalline body had witnessed the rise and fall of dozens of civilizations, called for order. The situation in the Sol system has grown beyond our initial expectations. Admiral Keith Var's fleet has confirmed that Earth is not only inhabited, but heavily protected with technology that exceeds our understanding. The Thorakian representative, a massive creature with scales like living metal, slammed one of his 6 fists on the table. This makes no sense. Our records clearly state that the humans withdrew from Galactic society 800 years ago. They were a minor species with limited technology. Perhaps our records were incomplete, suggested the ethereal delegate, her voice like wind through crystal chimes. The older species among us remember the humans differently. All eyes turned to Zerion, whose kind had been exploring the galaxy when most of the current races were still learning to make fire. The ancient being's crystalline form shimmered with uncomfortable memories. The humans, Zerion said slowly, were never a minor species. They were dangerous, more dangerous than any race we had encountered before or since. When they chose exile, many of us were relieved. Explain, demanded the Zephyrian ambassador, Admiral Cathar's superior. Zerion's form darkened. They were warriors, yes, but that wasn't what made them dangerous. They were innovators. They took technology from other races and improved it beyond recognition. They formed alliances with species that had been enemies for millennia. They brought peace to sectors that had known only war. That doesn't sound dangerous, the Thorakian protested. It was, Zerion replied, because they were too good at it, too successful, too powerful. When the humans decided something needed to be done, it got done. When they decided a war needed to end, it ended. When they decided a species needed protection, that species became untouchable. The council chamber fell silent as the implication sank in. They were becoming the rulers of the galaxy without even trying, Zerion continued. Other species began to depend on them for everything. The humans realized what was happening and made a choice that no other race in galactic history has ever made. They chose to give up their power voluntarily. On Earth, Marcus Cain felt the weight of those memories through the alien technology that connected him to the Galactic Information Network. He could sense the fear in the council chambers, the growing understanding of what humanity had really been before the Great Silence. Elena, he said, They're starting to remember. Elena looked up from the monitoring station where she had been tracking consortium fleet movements. Is that good or bad? I'm not sure yet, Cain admitted. Fear can lead to wisdom, but it can also lead to desperation. And desperate people make dangerous choices. The crystal chamber around them pulsed with increasing energy as more of Earth's systems came online. The Guardians, Awakening, had triggered protocols that had been dormant for centuries. Across the planet, humans were beginning to remember who they really were. In the city of New Geneva, Dr. Sarah Chen received an alert on her personal communicator. She had been living a quiet life as a teacher, helping human children learn about their world's history. But the message that appeared on her screen activated memories that had been sleeping in her genetic code. Project Renaissance Phase 1, she read aloud. All personnel report to designated stations. Sarah's eyes widened as suppressed knowledge flooded back into her consciousness. She wasn't just a teacher. She was a military engineer, one of the designers of Earth's planetary defense grid. The quiet life she had been living was a cover, a way to blend in while the Guardians slept. All across Earth, similar scenes were playing out. Farmers remembered that they were actually spacecraft pilots. Shopkeepers recalled their training as weapons specialists. Children playing in parks suddenly understood that their games were actually practice for roles they would one day fill in humanity's true society. The Great Silence had been more than just cutting communications with the galaxy. It had been a complete transformation of human civilization. An entire species had agreed to forget their own power to live simple lives while their guardian watched over them. But now the Guardian was awake, and so were they. In the Consortium Council chambers, Admiral Kethar had been called to give his personal report. His image appeared in the center of the holographic table, showing the stress and fear he had experienced in Earth's system. Honored Council, he began, what we discovered in the solar system defies explanation. The humans have not only survived, they have been building for 800 years. They have been preparing for this day. Preparing for what? Asked the ethereal representative. War, Kethar said simply, though they seem reluctant to fight it. He activated his tactical displays, showing the Council what his fleet had encountered. Weapon platforms the size of cities, ships that dwarfed anything in the Consortium fleet, technology that could absorb energy attacks and convert them into power. This is what they revealed in the first hour. The Admiral continued. Our analysts believe this represents less than 1% of their actual defensive capability. Impossible, the Thorakian representative scoffed. No single planet could hide that much military power. You're right, Kethar agreed. No single planet could, but Earth isn't just a planet anymore. It's the center of a solar system that has been converted into the largest fortress in galactic history. Marcus Cain sensed the growing panic in the council chambers through the alien technology. He could feel their fear like a cold wind across his consciousness. But he could also sense something else, the approach of more ships, many more ships. Elena, he said, how many vessels are heading our way? Elena checked her displays. The long-range sensors are detecting massive fleet movements from all consortium territories. Conservative estimate, over 10,000 ships. Cain nodded. He had expected this. The consortium would not accept the return of humanity without testing their strength, but they had no idea what they were really facing. Guardian to all Earth defense stations, Cain spoke, his voice carrying across every human settlement and military base on the planet. Prepare for full system activation. This is not a drill! The response was immediate. Across Earth, hidden doors opened in mountainsides. Entire forests moved aside to reveal launch bays. Lakes drained to expose submarine pens that had been disguised as natural formations. The planet itself began to transform, showing its true nature as humanity's ultimate weapon. But the most dramatic change was happening to the moon. The artificial satellite continued its rotation, revealing more and more of its true structure. Gunports the size of city blocks opened along its surface. Energy collectors that had pretended to be craters began to glow with gathered power. Hangar bays large enough to hold entire fleets prepared to launch their contents. Admiral Kethar watched in horrified fascination as humanity's deception was fully revealed. Council, he reported, the moon is not a natural satellite. It's a battle station, possibly the largest weapon ever constructed. In the crystal chamber, Cain felt the alien technology's influence spreading through his body. His skin now glowed with circuit patterns that pulsed in rhythm with Earth's defensive systems. His eyes had become entirely silver, reflecting the network of information that flowed through his enhanced mind. "Elena," he said, "you should know that I'm changing. The longer I stay active, the more the alien technology integrates with my consciousness. Soon I may not be entirely human anymore." Elena reached out and took his hand. His skin felt warm, but somehow different, as if energy flowed just beneath the surface. "You're still Marcus. I can see it in your eyes." "For now," Cain agreed. But the Guardian Protocol was designed for a single, final defense. If this conflict continues, I may have to make choices that human Marcus would never make. Above Earth, the first waves of consortium reinforcements began arriving in the outer solar system. The fleet that assembled was unlike anything in recorded history. Ships from 7 different races, each with their own weapons and tactics, all united in their determination to deal with the human threat. The fleet was commanded by High Admiral Thanos, a military genius who had never lost a battle. His flagship, the Void Render, was a super dreadnought capable of destroying planets. Behind him came the pride of 7 civilizations, the Thorakian battle cruisers with their impenetrable armor, the ethereal stealth ships that could phase between dimensions, the crystalline vessels of Zarion's people that could regenerate from almost any damage. "All ships," Thanos commanded, "maintain formation. We are here to demonstrate consortium strength, not to commit genocide against the humans. Our goal is to force their surrender and integration into proper galactic society." But even as he spoke, the High Admiral felt a growing unease. His sensors were showing energy readings from the Sol system that shouldn't be possible. Whatever the humans had been building during their 8 centuries of silence, it was beyond anything the consortium had ever faced. Marcus Cain felt the massive fleet approach like pressure against his expanded consciousness. Through the alien technology, he could sense every ship, every weapon, every plan the consortium commanders were making. The network that connected him to Earth's defenses also connected him to information systems across the galaxy. "They're not coming to destroy us," he told Elena. "They're coming to force us back into their society. They want to control us. Will you let them?" Elena asked. Cain's silver eyes reflected the holographic displays around them. The question was more complex than Elena realized. The alien technology gave him the power to destroy the approaching fleet easily, but destroying them would mean revealing the full extent of humanity's transformation, and that knowledge would terrify the galaxy into an even larger war. "I'll give them the same choice we made 800 years ago," Cain decided. "They can accept that some things are better left alone, or they can learn why we chose exile over conquest." The Guardian began to reach out through Earth's communication systems, preparing to make contact with the approaching consortium fleet. But he was also preparing for something else, the possibility that words would not be enough and that the galaxy would have to see the true power of awakened humanity. High Admiral Thanos was studying tactical reports when his communications officer announced an incoming transmission from Earth. "Sir, we're receiving a broad-spectrum message directed at the entire fleet." "Put it through," the Admiral commanded. Marcus Cain's voice filled every ship in the consortium armada. When he spoke, it was with the authority of someone who had watched over an entire world for 8 centuries. "Consortium fleet," the Guardian said, "you are approaching a sovereign system that wishes no conflict with your government. We ask that you withdraw and allow the galaxy to continue as it has for the past 800 years. High Admiral Thanos activated his response transmitter. "Human Guardian, the consortium cannot allow a military power of your magnitude to exist outside our authority. You will surrender your weapons and submit to consortium oversight." The silence that followed lasted for exactly 30 seconds. Then Marcus Cain's laughter echoed through every ship in the fleet. It was not a sound of humor, but of sad recognition. "Admiral," the Guardian said, "you have just made the same mistake that led us to exile ourselves 800 years ago. You assume that power must be controlled by those who fear it." In the crystal chamber, Elena watched as Marcus Cain's transformation accelerated. The circuit patterns on his skin grew brighter. His connection to the alien technology deepened. She could see the moment when the last purely human part of him accepted what he had to become. "Elena," he said softly, "the galaxy is about to remember why it was safer when we remained silent." Above Earth, 10,000 alien ships prepared to face a defense that they couldn't understand, commanded by a guardian whose power they couldn't imagine. The greatest military force in consortium history was about to discover what humanity had been hiding in the darkness between the stars. The heavens themselves were about to stand frozen in shock. High Admiral Thanos stood on the bridge of the Void Render, staring at the tactical display that showed the Sol system in perfect detail. His fleet of 10,000 ships stretched across space in a formation that had taken hours to perfect. Each vessel was positioned to provide maximum firepower while maintaining defensive coverage. It was a battle formation that had conquered star systems and broken the will of entire civilizations. But as the Admiral studied the energy readings from Earth's defensive grid, he began to understand that this battle would be unlike any he had ever fought. "Sir," reported his sensor operator, "we're detecting new activity throughout the system. The humans are activating additional defensive platforms. On the main display, red dots began appearing faster than the computers could count them. What had seemed like a heavily defended system an hour ago now looked like something beyond military comprehension. Weapon platforms emerged from hiding places that shouldn't have been able to conceal them. Entire asteroids revealed themselves as disguised battle stations. Space itself seemed to be armed and ready for war. "How many defensive installations do they have?" the Admiral asked. "Sir," the sensor operator said quietly, "our computers have stopped counting. The number exceeds our tactical databases." In the crystal chamber beneath Earth, Marcus Cain felt every system as it came online. The alien technology had fully integrated with his consciousness. Now his human appearance remained, but his mind had expanded beyond anything a normal person could comprehend. He was connected to every weapon, every shield, every ship in humanity's hidden arsenal. "Elena," he said, though his voice now carried harmonics that made the crystal walls resonate. "The consortium fleet is impressive. 10,000 ships representing the best military technology 7 civilizations can produce." Elena watched the tactical displays with growing amazement. "Can they break through our defenses?" Cain's smile was sad and knowing. "They could fight for 1,000 years and never come close. That's the problem. That's why we went into hiding." The Guardian stood and walked to the center of the chamber. As he moved, the crystal floor beneath his feet began to glow. Energy patterns flowed through the walls, responding to his presence. He raised his hand, and holographic displays filled the air around him, showing the true scope of Earth's transformation. "Look," he said to Elena, "really look. See what we built during our 8 centuries of silence." The displays showed more than just weapons and defenses. They showed an entire civilization that had been rebuilt from the ground up. Humans lived in cities that were actually massive underground complexes. Their farms were covers for industrial facilities that could produce entire fleets. Their schools taught children not just history and mathematics, but the sciences of space warfare and alien technology. Every human on Earth was a soldier, whether they knew it or not. Every settlement was a fortress. Every peaceful valley hid weapons that could devastate planets. Humanity had not just survived their exile. They had used it to become something that the galaxy had never seen before. "We became what we were afraid of becoming," Cain said softly. "A species so powerful that we could rule the universe without even trying. The only thing that kept us from conquering everything was our own choice to remain hidden." High Admiral Thanos received a priority transmission from the Consortium Council. The holographic image of Council Leader Zerion appeared on his bridge. The ancient being's crystalline form flickered with agitated energy. "Admiral," Zerion said, "our intelligence networks have been analyzing the human defensive capabilities. What you are facing is not just a military installation. It is the culmination of 8 centuries of preparation for this exact scenario." "Understood, Council Leader," Thanos replied. "My fleet is ready for extended combat operations." "No," Zerion said urgently. "You don't understand. Our projections suggest that the humans have enough firepower in the Sol system to destroy the entire consortium fleet 10 times over. This is not a battle you can win through superior tactics or numbers. The Admiral felt a chill run through his azure blood. Are you ordering me to withdraw? I'm ordering you to negotiate, Zerion replied. The humans chose exile once before rather than rule the galaxy. Perhaps they can be convinced to make that choice again. But even as the council leader spoke, events in the Sol system were moving beyond the possibility of simple negotiation. Marcus Cain had finished his preparations. The Guardian of Earth was ready to demonstrate exactly what humanity had been hiding. Consortium fleet, Cain's voice echoed through every ship. You have entered sovereign human space with hostile intent. You have been given opportunities to withdraw peacefully. Since you have chosen to remain, you will now witness the consequences of disturbing a sleeping Guardian. The first demonstration was subtle. Throughout the consortium fleet, every ship's computer system suddenly displayed the same message. Your weapons are offline. Your shields are offline. Your engines are offline. You are alive by the grace of Earth's Guardian. High Admiral Thanos checked his tactical displays in disbelief. Every system showed the same impossible reading. Total system failure across his entire fleet. 10,000 ships all rendered helpless in the space of a single moment. How? The Admiral whispered. His answer came from Marcus Cain's enhanced consciousness, reaching across space to touch every mind in the fleet simultaneously. It was not telepathy in any normal sense. It was the alien technology using quantum entanglement to create a direct connection between the Guardian's awareness and every living being within a million-mile radius. For just an instant, every consortium soldier experienced what Marcus Cain experienced. They felt the vast network of Earth's defenses. They sensed the true scope of humanity's hidden civilization. They understood with perfect clarity exactly how outmatched they were. The psychological impact was devastating. Seasoned warriors who had conquered star systems fell to their knees. Commanders who had never known defeat stared at their useless control panels in shock. The greatest military force in galactic history had been neutralized without a single shot being fired. But Cain was not finished with his demonstration. Admiral Thanos, the Guardian's voice spoke directly into the Zephyrian's mind. Order your ships to power down their weapons. What I'm about to show you next will require your full attention. The Admiral, still struggling to understand how his fleet had been disabled so easily, gave the order as if it mattered. None of their weapons were functional anyway. In space around Earth, something extraordinary began to happen. The planet's moon, which had already revealed itself to be an artificial construct, began to transform even further. Massive sections of its surface opened like flower petals, exposing the true scale of the installation within. The moon was not just a weapons platform. It was a construction facility, a command center, and a gateway to technologies that defied everything the consortium thought they knew about science. As its interior was revealed, structures became visible that were clearly not human in origin. They were older, more sophisticated, built by the ancient race that had left their technology behind for humanity to discover. What you are seeing, Cain's voice explained to the paralyzed fleet, is the legacy of the predecessors, the race that came before all of us. They left their technology for someone worthy to find. We found it when we were dying on a poisoned Earth. It saved us, but it also changed us. The alien structures within the moon began to glow with power that registered on every sensor in the consortium fleet. Energy readings spiked beyond anything their instruments could measure. Space itself seemed to bend around the ancient technology as it activated for the first time in millions of years. The predecessors built this technology to protect younger races, Cain continued. But they required that any species using it prove themselves worthy through wisdom and restraint. For 800 years, we have been tested. Today, we passed that test. Elena watched from the crystal chamber as Marcus Cain's transformation reached its final stage. The circuit patterns on his skin now covered his entire body, pulsing with the rhythm of the predecessor technology. His eyes had become windows into an intelligence that was both human and something far more ancient. "Marcus," she said softly, "are you still there?" "I'm here," he replied, though his voice now carried harmonics that seemed to come from the depths of space itself. but I'm also something more. The Guardian Protocol was never just about defending Earth. It was about becoming the bridge between humanity and the predecessor's legacy. High Admiral Thanos found his voice somehow, functioning despite the technological shutdown affecting his ship. "Guardian," he called out. "What do you want from us?" Cain's response came not as words, but as pure understanding transmitted directly into every mind in the fleet. The message was simple but profound. Humanity wanted nothing from the consortium except to be left alone. They had no desire to conquer or rule. They had spent 8 centuries learning to use godlike power responsibly, and their choice today was the same as it had always been: peaceful isolation. But the message also carried a warning. If the galaxy could not accept humanity's choice to remain separate, then humanity would be forced to take a more active role in galactic affairs. And that role would be as protectors and guardians, not conquerors. But the end result would be the same. Human authority would extend across the stars, not through conquest, but through necessity. "You have a choice," Cain's voice spoke to every being in the consortium fleet. "Accept that some power is too great to be controlled by governments and councils. Return to your worlds and tell them that Earth sleeps again, but it watches. Or force us to take responsibility for a galaxy that cannot leave well enough alone." The alien technology within the moon pulsed brighter, and suddenly every member of the consortium fleet could see the future that Marcus Cain saw. If they chose to fight, they would lose. Not just this battle, but everything. Humanity's technology was so far advanced that resistance was meaningless. But more than that, they saw what would happen if humanity was forced to take active control of galactic civilization. It would be gentle. It would be fair. It would be absolutely implacable. Humans would end wars not through conquest, but by making warfare impossible. They would solve conflicts not through negotiation, but by removing the ability to create conflicts. They would bring peace to the galaxy by becoming its ultimate authority, whether they wanted to or not. "No," whispered Admiral Thanos, as he saw the vision of humanity's reluctant empire spreading across the stars. "We choose to leave you alone." "Wise," Cain replied. "Return to your governments. Tell them that Earth's guardian has awakened and found the galaxy acceptable. We will remain in our system. We will not interfere with consortium affairs, but we will also not tolerate interference with ours." Across the fleet, systems began coming back online. Weapons powered up, engines resumed function, shields reactivated. But every being in the consortium armada understood that this was a gift, not a failure of Earth's defenses. They were being allowed to leave. As the massive fleet began its withdrawal from the Sol system, High Admiral Thanos took one last look at the planet that had humbled the greatest military force in galactic history. Earth looked peaceful from a distance, blue and green and beautiful. But now he knew the truth. It was the most dangerous place in the universe, guarded by beings who had chosen mercy over mastery. In the crystal chamber, Elena watched as Marcus Cain slowly returned to something resembling his human form. The circuit patterns faded from his skin. His eyes returned to brown, though flecks of silver remained. But she could see that something fundamental had changed. He was still human, but he was also something more. "Is it over?" she asked. Cain looked at the displays showing the consortium fleet retreating toward the edge of the system. "This part is over, but the galaxy will remember what happened here. Some will fear us more than ever. Others will wonder what other sleeping guardians might be hidden among the stars." "And us?" Elena asked. "What happens to humanity now?" Marcus Cain smiled, and for a moment he looked entirely human again. "We continue to sleep. We continue to watch. And we hope that the galaxy has learned enough wisdom to leave us in peace." But even as he spoke, Cain knew that this was only the beginning. The demonstration of humanity's power would echo across the galaxy. Some races would accept the lesson and leave Earth alone. Others would see humanity as a threat that needed to be eliminated before it could grow stronger. The Guardian of Earth had awakened to defend his people. Soon he might need to awaken again to defend the entire galaxy from those who would rather destroy it than accept that some power was too great to be controlled. The heavens had stood frozen in shock at humanity's revelation. Now they would have to decide what to do with the knowledge that the universe's most dangerous guardians had chosen to sleep among the stars, watching and waiting for the day when they might be needed again. 3 days after the consortium fleet withdrawal from the Sol system, emergency sessions were being held in every major government center across the galaxy. The demonstration of humanity's hidden power had sent shockwaves through civilized space that would be felt for generations. On the crystal world of Zerion Prime, Council leader Zerion stood before the assembled representatives of the consortium's greatest minds. The ancient being's crystalline form flickered with patterns of deep concern as he addressed the gathering. What we witnessed in the Sol system changes everything we thought we knew about galactic power structures, Zerion began. The humans have not just survived their exile. They have evolved beyond our ability to comprehend or control them. The Thorakian representative, General Kororax, slammed his armored fist on the conference table. They made fools of us. 10,000 ships rendered helpless without firing a shot. The consortium's military superiority is a joke compared to what they've built. Perhaps, said the ethereal voice of many, her form shimmering between dimensions. But they chose not to destroy us. That choice reveals something important about their intentions. Zerion nodded slowly. Indeed, the humans could have eliminated our entire fleet in moments. Instead, they demonstrated their power and allowed us to withdraw with honor. This suggests they truly wish to remain isolated. But not everyone in the galaxy was willing to accept humanity's return to prominence so easily. In the dark reaches of the Andromeda Spiral, representatives from the Shadow Collective, species that operated outside consortium law, were planning a very different response to Earth's revelation. Admiral Vex Thera, a being whose species had been driven to the galaxy's edge by consortium expansion, studied intelligence reports about humanity's defenses. Her scarred face twisted with calculating hatred as she addressed her allies. "The humans have shown us their hand," she said. "They are powerful, yes, but they are also alone. One system against the entire galaxy. If we can find a way to break their defenses, we can eliminate them before they become an even greater threat." "How?" asked Commander Skull 9, a cybernetic being whose race had been enslaved by the consortium centuries ago. "Their technology is beyond anything we've encountered." "Their technology is ancient," Vex Thera replied, "which means it has limits. Every system has weaknesses. We just need to find them." On Earth, Marcus Cain felt the stirrings of these new threats through the quantum networks that connected him to information systems across the galaxy. In the 3 days since the consortium's withdrawal, he had maintained his enhanced state, monitoring galactic reactions to humanity's revelation. "Elena," he said as she entered the crystal chamber, with her daily reports, "the galaxy is not taking our demonstration as well as I had hoped." Elena set down her data tablets and looked at the holographic displays surrounding the Guardian. New threat indicators were appearing across the star maps. Fleets gathering in systems that were not part of the consortium. Weapons being developed in secret laboratories. Alliances forming between species that had never cooperated before. "They're afraid of us," Elena observed. "Yes," Cain agreed. "And fear makes people do dangerous things. Some races are planning to attack us before we can grow stronger. Others are trying to develop weapons that might penetrate our defenses. Still others are considering alliances with powers from outside our galaxy." Cain gestured to a display showing the Outer Rim territories. "The Shadow Collective is mobilizing. They see us as a threat to their independence from consortium rule. They think that if they can defeat us, they can prove that no power is truly unbeatable." Elena studied the threat assessments with growing concern. "How many ships are they gathering?" 50,000 from the intelligence I can access," Cain replied. "Plus experimental weapons that might actually pose a danger to Earth's defenses. They've been studying the energy signatures from our demonstration, looking for patterns they can exploit." But the Shadow Collective was not the only threat emerging from humanity's revelation. In the depths of intergalactic space, something else had taken notice of Earth's display of predecessor technology. Cain's enhanced consciousness suddenly recoiled as he sensed a presence that was alien beyond anything he had ever encountered. Through the quantum networks, something was reaching back toward him. something vast and ancient and hungry. "Elena," he said urgently, "we need to activate the deep space monitoring stations. Something is coming from outside our galaxy, something that recognizes the predecessor technology." "What kind of something?" Elena asked. But Cain was already reaching out through Earth's defensive network, awakening systems that had been dormant even during the recent crisis. Far beyond the edge of the Milky Way, in the void between galaxies, massive structures began to move. They had been waiting in the darkness for millions of years, watching for signs of predecessor technology activation. The demonstration that had driven off the consortium fleet had also served as a beacon, calling to intelligences that viewed the galaxy as territory to be reclaimed. The harvesters were coming. In the crystal chamber, Cain's transformation accelerated beyond anything Elena had seen before. The alien technology was responding to the new threat by integrating even more deeply with his consciousness. Circuit patterns blazed across his skin like living fire. His eyes became completely silver, reflecting data streams that flowed faster than any human mind could process. "Elena," he said, though his voice now carried harmonics that seemed to come from the depths of space itself, "I need you to understand what's happening. The predecessor technology was not just given to us randomly. We were chosen to be guardians against something specific." "Against what?" Elena asked, though she was beginning to fear the answer. "Against the harvesters," Cain replied. "The race that destroyed the predecessors. They've been sleeping in the void between galaxies, waiting for someone to activate predecessor technology again. Our demonstration 3 days ago was like lighting a signal fire that they could see from billions of light years away." The implications hit Elena like a physical blow. "How long do we have?" Cain's consciousness expanded across space, touching the edge of galactic sensors and beyond. What he saw made his enhanced heart race with alarm. 6 months, maybe less. They're traveling through folded space at speeds that shouldn't be possible. Across Earth, humanity began to wake up to their true purpose. The quiet farmers and teachers and shopkeepers, who had lived peaceful lives during the Great Silence, felt knowledge. Stirring in their genetic memory, they remembered that they were not just colonists on a hidden world. They were the chosen guardians of an entire galaxy. In New Geneva, Dr. Sarah Chen stood before a gathering of Earth's hidden leaders. The transformation of human society was happening with startling speed as suppressed memories and training reasserted themselves. "The Guardian has called for full activation," she announced. "All defensive protocols are now active. All citizens are to report to their designated roles. This is not an exercise." Across the planet, the real scope of humanity's preparation became visible. Cities that had looked normal revealed themselves as massive military installations. Underground facilities that could build fleets emerged from beneath farmland. Training centers that had masqueraded as schools began producing soldiers, pilots, and technicians at a rate that defied belief. Earth was not just defended, it was a factory for defending the entire galaxy. In the crystal chamber, Marcus Cain felt the weight of 8 centuries of preparation settling on his enhanced shoulders. The Guardian Protocol had always been about more than just protecting Earth. It had been about preparing humanity to fulfill their role as the galaxy's ultimate defenders. "Elena," he said, "I need to tell you something about the choice our ancestors made 800 years ago. They didn't withdraw from galactic society just because they were afraid of their own power. They withdrew because they knew this day would come." Elena stared at him in amazement. "They knew about the harvesters?" "The predecessors left records," Cain explained, "hidden in the deep archives of their technology. Our scientists found them during the early years of the exile. They learned that the harvesters would return when predecessor technology was activated on a large enough scale. Earth's leaders decided to prepare for that day rather than warn the galaxy and cause a panic." The full scope of humanity's sacrifice became clear to Elena. For 8 centuries, an entire species had lived in exile, preparing for a war that might never come. They had given up their place in galactic civilization to become secret guardians against a threat that most of the galaxy didn't even know existed. "And now?" Elena asked. Cain's silver eyes reflected the holographic displays showing threats converging on the Sol system from multiple directions. The Shadow Collective's fleet was forming up in the outer rim. Consortium forces were repositioning despite their official withdrawal. And from beyond the galaxy's edge, the harvesters were coming with technology that had once defeated the most advanced civilization in universal history. "Now," Cain said, "we do what we were designed to do. We protect the galaxy whether it wants our protection or not." The Guardian began reaching out through quantum space, establishing contact with every defensive installation in the solar system. But more than that, he began activating systems that had been built during the early centuries of exile. Systems designed not just to defend Earth, but to carry the fight to the enemy. High Admiral Thanos, now leading the Consortium's observation force at a safe distance from Earth, received a transmission that made his azure blood run cold. Marcus Cain's image appeared on his command screen. But the human looked different now. More alien, more powerful, more terrifying in his calm certainty. "Admiral," the Guardian said, "I regret to inform you that your fleet's withdrawal has not ended this crisis. Forces are converging on this system that will threaten not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. I am offering the Consortium one final choice." "What choice?" Thanos asked, though he dreaded the answer. "Accept humanity as the galaxy's protectors," Cain replied, "or watch as we protect you anyway, regardless of your preferences." The transmission ended, leaving the Admiral staring at his tactical displays. New energy readings were coming from Earth, but these were different from the defensive systems that had been revealed before. These readings suggested offensive capabilities that could project power across interstellar distances. On Earth, Elena watched as Marcus Cain made the final transformation from human guardian to something beyond mortal understanding. The alien technology had completely integrated with his consciousness. Now he was no longer just connected to Earth's defenses, he was Earth's defenses. And more than that, he was becoming the focal point for humanity's true purpose. "The galaxy will never be the same," Elena said softly. "No," Cain agreed, "but it will survive. The harvesters destroyed the predecessors because the predecessors faced them alone. Humanity will not make that mistake. We have had 8 centuries to prepare, and we have prepared well." As if to emphasize his words, reports began flooding in from across human space. The fleet that emerged from Earth's hidden shipyards was beyond anything the galaxy had ever imagined. Ships the size of small moons, armed with weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics. Vessels that existed partially outside normal space-time, immune to conventional attack. Technology that made the Consortium's most advanced warships look like primitive chemical rockets. But the most important revelation was that Earth was not humanity's only stronghold. Across the galaxy, on worlds that had been written off as dead or uninhabitable, human settlements revealed themselves. Each one was a fortress. Each one was a guardian post. For 8 centuries, humanity had been secretly preparing the entire galaxy for the war that was coming. The harvesters would find not an unprepared galaxy ruled by squabbling civilizations, but a fortress galaxy defended by guardians who had spent 800 years learning to use the predecessor's legacy responsibly. Marcus Cain, the guardian of Earth, felt the network of human defenses activating across the galaxy. His consciousness expanded to touch every installation, every ship, every guardian who had volunteered to become more than human in order to protect those who remained human. "Elena," he said, though his voice now carried the weight of worlds, "tell the historical records that humanity's exile is over. Not because we chose to return, but because the galaxy needs guardians, and we are the only ones who can fill that role." In the depths of space, the harvesters continued their approach toward a galaxy they thought would be easy prey. They had no idea that they were about to face the children of the predecessors, a race that had learned not just to use ancient technology, but to improve upon it. The final battle for the galaxy's survival was about to begin, and humanity was ready.